Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, today is day 6 of NoFap, and I'm starting to feel really confident. But I got to be careful not to be complacent. What has happened is that I've kind of become addicted to not masturbating. You know, one of my biggest curses in life is that I get myself addicted to just about everything that I touch, whether it be a substance, whether it be an activity, or the lack thereof the things, right? So, for example, I started eating healthier 2 decades ago. One of the first foods that I cut out of my life was soda. Now, was it hard? You know, it was hard in a different way than what you might expect, right? Most people, when they stop drinking soda, when they stop smoking, when they stop using anything, they suffer withdrawal, right? Physical withdrawal. I didn't have any of that. I didn't even necessarily have any mental withdrawal, like, right? So, for example, anybody who has ever quit a heavy smoking habit, especially, can probably relate to, oh my God, you know, my hands go flying in the air right after I do whatever, right? Right after I finish my work and I come out of the building, right? Oh my God, my hands fly in the air and I don't know what to do with them, right? Didn't quite necessarily have that with soda. What I did have was social drama. I would go to an activity and it would bother other people that I wasn't drinking soda. And fortunately, NoFap doesn't suffer from that problem, right? So that's really good. And the other day, I was feeling really good from not masturbating. The main reason being that by not masturbating, it's opened a portal to other stuff in my life, right? It creates a gap, which I then fill with art projects, with writing computer games, with new hiking trails, with all sorts of other stuff. And but two problems. I got to be careful not to be complacent, obviously, because that's usually how I go back to masturbating. I get complacent, and also I got to be careful what I fill the gap with, because again, addiction, right? In times past, the other reason that I have given up no faps is that I get myself too carried away, especially with less than healthy activities, especially binge eating, caffeine, and a few other substances. In 2022, one time I had quit masturbating for 60 some days, and my eating habits went out of control. I was using a lot of caffeine. And I also, this was in Seattle where it's more popular. I also did some marijuana. We had a dispensary and I tried over the course of a few weeks, I tried a few different strains. And then I remembered I have an addictive personality. Maybe I shouldn't push my luck anymore with that. And my caffeine intake was out of control, eating habits, and I wasn't sleeping right, and I was dabbling in marijuana, and I dabbled in not, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing. I went to a few meetup groups that were outside of my area in terms of my hobbies, and so I made a fool of myself trying to make some moves on the girls there because I had no idea what they were involved in. I mean, granted, I walked away from that unscathed, but things were just kind of going out of control, and that's a big problem for me. I start a new shiny hobby, and it always seems like a new shiny hobby, but within months, it quickly consumes my life. So, for example, I, uh, I need to go to my storage unit to clean it out. Everything's a mess there because I was so busy making stuff, and ditto with my computer games. Right, my hard drive is a disaster in terms of stuff that I'm writing, and I start a million projects. People often say that it's a problem to start a million things, but you know what? Given the opportunity, I often do conclude these projects. Right, I just start a lot of them at the same time. Of course, life throws a lot of constraints too, right? So it's kind of a mix. I had one game that after a decade I finally finished, and so it made me realize that yeah, I do start a million things given the opportunity. Of course, all the stuff on my hard drive, if I wanted to actually land all of them, it would probably take like hundreds of years, right? Literally, because of how many things I've started. Right. The truth is that a lot of them I'm just going to take to the grave with me, right? So. But given the opportunity, I often do conclude stuff. That's something that a lot of people don't realize, right? Okay. But unfortunately, I really despise my addictive personality. It's a double-edged sword. When I get addicted to the right stuff, actually, when I get addicted to the right stuff, it still turns badly. But when I get addicted to the wrong stuff, it turns really badly, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.